Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining me for another session of AppScan Tuesdays. Last week we had Florian on the show talking about static analysis and how to automate your scans with AppScan Source. This week we are going to the other extreme. We are going to use AppScan on cloud, and we are going to talk about running DAST scans not automated. For this, I have a good friend of me joining on the show, and let me welcome Nir Almog. So, hi Nir, thank you for joining the show.
Hello,
Thank you
glad
for
to be here.
thank you for volunteering to be on the
Of
show.
course, of
Yeah.
course.
So Nir and I go way back. In my previous role, I was a product manager in charge of AppScan on Cloud, and Nir is the dev manager in charge of AppScan on Cloud. We worked a lot together, and if you guys know Israelis, working together means arguing a lot, fighting, and but all in good spirit. Nir and I go way back and good friends. So again, thank you for finally agreeing to be on the show and putting you on the spotlight. You're doing some excellent job there in Israel with your team.
Thank you, and glad to be here.
So, Nir, what are we going to discuss about today?
So, yeah, we talked before what you guys show, and I thought I'd maybe share a little bit about some of the stuff that I recommend to get started with. Obviously, we want to get to automation at some point, and we're seeing a lot of our users going to automation, but I always recommend starting with doing it manually and then grow from there. It's an easier kind of gradual way to get to where you want to go and to make sure that you're doing things correct. And then you can start evolving your either automation manual. We ourselves continue to do a lot of stuff manually. In some cases, it just works better. Obviously, we also do a lot of automation, so
Yeah.
we try to kind of both.
So yeah, and it's the crawl, walk, run. You don't start
Exactly.
immediately automated. You want to verify that you get the value. I think that a value from using tools such as AppScan and AppScan on Cloud in specific is that you can go and you can automate, but you need to get the value of actually improving the security of your product and not just running scans. And so you will show
Completely
us
agree.
today how basically to set up the environment and to try
Yeah,
it before you jump into the water.
exactly.
Okay.
So you want me to share?
I would love to see you share the screen. Yep.
Okay, so let me just switch here to sharing.
Oh, here I am.
And yeah, so I'm gonna skip a little bit of really beginner stuff. I assume a lot of our users already know how to kind of start, but I'm going to talk about a little stuff that is between beginners and advanced. Some kind of a little bit of walkthrough and some tips. The first thing that I like to do when I set up my application is to set up the business unit, and you can see here I have it set it up. Um, in this example, it's I don't only have four applications, so it's not that critical. But once you start having a lot of applications or different teams that are doing different stuff, you'll find that it's very useful. It's very easy to set up the business unit, either when you create the application or even afterwards. You can just click on the edit, go to the advanced attributes and enter the business unit. It basically works like a tag. You can also change it if you want. And once you've done that, you can either use the search field um, or the actual filter to demo to filter by a business unit. So either way, it will work for you. So that's kind of the first tip I can give. Um, let's just jump into an application. So I already have one here set up. Um, and when you once you start, like you want to start a dynamic and I'll do that in a second. Um, I basically recommend doing the following things. Again, as something that you want to start, you want to make sure that you're scanning. your application the right way. So you enter the URL, and I'll use our demo site, demoTestFire.net. This is basically what we use to demonstrate. And what I would do here, I would usually use this advanced mode. And this gives me a little bit more configuration. It says advanced, but basically everything in AppScan Cloud is very, very simple. So even the advanced mode, I think, is basic, and you can
Yeah,
you
so
can
with the simple mode, I guess, I mean, simple mode is just URL and login, which works
yeah,
in some
yeah.
cases, but many you will need more than that.
Right. The simple mode is great too if this is really your first scan, you want to try it out. So just enter the URL, then the login, and you right away kick off of scans. That is it. With this mode, you have a little more configuration like the environment. And it's very important to select the right environment if you're running on a live production site. This basically means that we will not automatically fill forms that in your site, and we will not execute JavaScript. Um, the request that we will send will be sent in a slower way to not put too much pressure on your server. But the cost of that is you will get the crawling part of the scan will not be as good as if you select the staging or testing environment. The testing basically the same, and if you're familiar with dynamic scanning, basically you have both the Explorer stage and the testing stage. The Explorer is very important to get really good coverage of the site. The testing part um, and is the one that will take longer, but both of them are the same for the testing. So, but what's important here is making sure the Explorer stage works better.
I think
Um,
it's important to mention that in the cloud, by default, those policies, we don't do any invasive tests. We don't try to, take down your site. If you want more invasive tests, we showed how you can use AppScan Standard with AppScan Connect to configure more in-depth test policies and use them. But we want to make sure that people don't cause harm to themselves with this.
right. It is still an automatic silicon, puts a lot of junk in your, storage database, whatever, when you do a production, a real production site. So in that case, you would want to choose the live production site. But in this case, where we're scanning demo test fire, we're going to choose the staging or testing environment. Usually, you would need to download the and presence and install it in a way that has into the tested side, but both to AppScan on cloud. I'm not going to demo it here because demotestfire.net is exposed to me, so there's no need to it. And maybe we'll do a different session on private network. For now, I'm just going to skip that. Um, for the login, you have basically three options here. This is very basic. So either you don't do a login, but obviously if you want to do first scan to your site, it does require authentication. You would want to use the login for scanning it. We always recommend using, if this is a testing or staging environment, then you probably have a username and password. It is for that environment, so there's no problem. If you're scanning a production, obviously use something that is meant for testing. Don't use your real credentials. Never recommend that. I'm going to choose here, so you can choose the automatic login. I choose here the recorded login, and in some cases the automatic will not work. You would want something that will require a recording of the login. So we have the AppScan Activity Recorder, and it's a Chrome extension. We just also released a plugin for Edge browser. I'm currently demoing on my Mac, so I'm going to show it on the Chrome extension,
Yeah,
and
so it's the
it's
same
very easy.
extension. It's same extension, but it also supports Edge now.
Yep.
If someone search for it, find it in the Chrome store still.
So I'm going to click here, and it's going to open the web store. I already have it installed, but if you don't, you can just install it. And basically, you can see it here, right here in the corner. It's already installed. And what I'll do now is I'll go to the domain, the starting URL that I want to scan, and I'm going to enter it here. And now I'm going to start the recording. So you just click on the button here, see this pop up that the recording has started. I'm going to click on the sign in just like I would usually log in. And I already have this set up. Enter the password for our demo site, click login, and basically that's it. And once I cancel, and hopefully you can see this right now,
Yep.
you just download it. And that's it. It's open automatically, but I'm going to close that. And I'm going to go back to AppScan Cloud. And basically what I'm going to do is I'm just going to drag and drop this.
I think that what is important to mention here, we are actually recording the actions that happened on the browser with this plugin, and we are going to replay those actions, not just not the traffic, but the actual actions that we recorded, which is really advanced and allows us to handle very complex situations.
Yep. And basically, if you want to look at what we recorded, you can as well. It's a zip, so you can change it, the extension to a zip, and you can decide and open it in an editor, and you'll see the actual actions that were recorded. But you don't need to. You can just drag and drop it here, and you can start off the scan. The next thing I'm going to recommend is using the test optimization, basically taking it all the way to the right, to the fastest. And I think you already did a session, Eitan, where you explained the test optimization. We was introduced in V10 for AppScan. So I'm not going to go into it, but we made it very easy for the user to use it. It's a slider. You pull it all the way to the right, you get faster scans. You pull it all the way to the left, it's slower scans, but you'll get more coverage out of the tests. The reason I'm putting it all the way right is when I run my first scan, basically what I want to do is make sure the scan ran correctly. I got a successful scan. I got the coverage that I wanted. It ran, it completed. I'm less interested right now about the fact that I got a set of tests that I could find. Although choosing fastest will get you kind of the best ROI out of a scan because it will find the most high severity issues with the highest probability of actually finding something. So I like to start with fastest. Then if the scan works and I see a good scan, I will go back and run it again as fast. The second time I run it, it might find some new issues and increase the coverage of the test. And after that was done, I will go back and set it to the next time I run it as a fastest. It will also include the new issues that were found during fast. So it kind of best of both worlds. After that, what I would usually do, especially if this is a first scan, I would select it, run it as a personal scan. Personal scan, what it means that it's similar to running a personal build. I run it kind of as an isolated scan. It doesn't affect the application, the compliance of the application, the issues that are found during the scan are not merged into the issues already have in the application. So if this is a first scan I'm running, I'm not sure what exactly I'm going to find. I don't want it. I'm not sure if I'm going to use it later on. I don't want to later on go and delete the scan with the issues or have to, if I already have issues there, I don't want to mark them as noise. Running it as a personal scan kind of saves me that hassle. I can then look at that scan and decide if I want to promote those issues to the application, and by that way turning it into a regular scan. So I'm just going to click review and scan. I'm going to make sure that I have everything set up correctly, and I'm going to click scan now. And the scan will kick off, and you'll see this on here. This basically means that this is run as a personal scan. Personal scans are automatically deleted after 30 days. So if you are planning to use it, just make sure to promote the issues before the 30 days are over.
Basically, it
Um,
allows me to test what I did before embarrassing myself in front of everyone, or in fact, maybe it was just an experiment that I am doing, and I don't intend to even merge it into the code, so no reason to have it affect everyone else.
exactly, exactly that. So I'm going to let the scan run, see if it completes in time or not, because this is an actual live scan. So we'll see. But in the meantime, I'll show you some other stuff we recently added. Um, and the first thing I'm going to show you is basically the log file. This is a new thing that we added. We added the scan file, the ability to download the scan file some time ago, but
And
not
that
everybody has
Yeah, and
standard
download a
installed.
scan file means I can just upload it, open it in AppScan Standard, nothing more than that. I see.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. So now with the log file, you're able to download it and you can be able to open it in any uh, text editor, um, and really gives you the to easily see what's going on, what happened during the scan. So a lot of visibility, and in some cases, we'll also provide it with a failed scan. You never have the scan file to download, but now you might have the log file. So in some cases, if the scan was able to start but still failed, we will provide you the log file. So in this example, you can see I had an out of session during explore stage, and if I down um, the log file, and it will download in a second, I can just open it. So in some cases, in the future, we might have more than one file. Um, and let me open it in an editor here. And here you can see I have basically the scan log that we're all familiar with AppScan standard. And if I search for out of session, um, yeah, so I can see exactly where I got this error, and I can see it probably happened during the login. So I would know I would probably need to either record the logging again or fix my logging. Something here with the log didn't work, and I got out of session right after the login. So this is a good example how you can use analog
Yeah, this
to kind of see.
it might indicate that the account was locked or something, and if a user goes into their site, they will immediately see it and fix it.
Exactly.
Okay.
Um, so this scan is still running. So what I'm going to show you is something else. I was going to show it through the personal scan, but basically you can do it for every scan. Um, we added, we extended the coverage that we show in the scan report. So now this gives you also a little bit of insight, more coverage of the scan. We've added information that we have both in AppScan Standard and AppScan Enterprise. When you run a scan, we have the parameters and cookies and the filtered URL. So that is now added to the report. And this is mainly when you run a personal scan, because then you can verify that the coverage was as expected. And if I go here to the visited URLs, you can see here I have all the content that we have in AppScan Standard, and now it's also in the security report in AppScan Cloud. All the filtered URLs and all the comments, the JavaScript, and cookies. So this will help you, probably more to advanced users, but definitely also to help you see if you got the coverage correct.
Well, it is important to make sure that the dynamic scanning that we did actually covered uh, the site, or at least the parts of the site that you wanted. So it doesn't.
So obviously, the first thing you want to look at is the visit and the filtered URLs. That way, you can see which URLs you scanned, which URLs you didn't scan. This
Mhm.
is I would say, the beginning. Once you get into more advanced knowledge, and especially if you have AppScan Standard installed, you would also look at the parameters and probably cookies to make sure you got them correctly. If you have an application that's a single app that has dynamic parameters that keep changing, you want to make sure that you capture that. And you would probably need AppScan Standard to configure some of the parameters if AppScan didn't automatically detect them. But this basically is more of advanced kind of capability.
Yeah. So I know that we said we do the simple, but maybe as a tease for another session that we'll do later. For automation, we have our Swagger page, all the APIs. Can you just give a, you know, 30 seconds view of this, and people will know where to search until we do a session?
Yeah, definitely. So if you go to the settings page, basically here, what you start with the API is create API key and a secret. And if I click generate, it will renew the API key and will give me a new secret ID. And that's what I would use in the API in order to log in and authenticate, and then I can use the rest of the API.
Mm-hmm.
If you click on the link here, you can get to this page, without using the UI. But the nice thing here, if you click on this link here, we basically take the session ID that we already have because you're logged in, automatically add it to the Swagger. So right now, I have the token here already set up. Usually I would need to go here, go to this REST API and enter the credentials here in order to log in. You don't need to do that. Some basic stuff that you can are nice to when you use Swagger. First of all, we added some response messages, so this is also new. You can see here error codes that we return and the meaning of them.
Mm-hmm.
So that will help you also with the automation. If you click on the example value, it will automatically copy it to here, and then you can basically paste in your own values. If you click on the model and then you click on the value here, you'll basically get some of the limits of the inputs that you can see. So for example, there's a minimum and maximum value. I hope you can see this. I hope it's not too small.
It is small, but we understand basically, and I
Yeah.
think near it would be best if we do another session. But I wanted to expose our viewers to the fact that they can go inside to the Swagger page and see how to automate and how to play with our APIs in a very comfortable
Yeah,
approach.
definitely. And I'll just pick like one example to show you how easy it is because I'm already logged in.
Sure.
If I go to just apps, I will basically just click try it out, and that's it. It will give me the response in a JSON format. Yeah, we definitely would want to do a separate session on the OData filtering. A lot of cool stuff that you could do here. But the Swagger page lets you try it out without building the script, writing everything down. You can see the response, you can see how it behaves, and then you can start planning how to do your automation.
And I think, I mean, the step that we took here, I mean, true, we have the out of the box plugins, we have the integrations with Jenkins and Azure DevOps and IDEs and Bamboo and whatnot. But as I mentioned in the previous session last week, speaking with customers, large enterprise customers, out of the box plugins don't work for them usually. They have customized versions, they have everything under the sun in terms of tools. They want to use the APIs. And everything that you see in the UI of ASOC, of AppScan on Cloud, is also exposed in the Swagger and even more, right? I'm correct in that?
Yeah, there's definitely everything you can do in the UI. It has an REST API, and the API actually has some even more than what we have in the UI. Obviously, we are planning to add them, but there are stuff here like the domains that currently is not exposed in the UI and the webhooks. These are all kind of very cool APIs and are especially built for automation that you can start exploring with.
Yeah, I think that
Um,
one of the really cool stuff that your team is doing is that it's more of API first. Once you have something, you expose it on the API. You don't wait for the UI, and UI follows later because hey, it's different design. It takes longer. So for you out there, if there's anything that you saw in the UI, you can automate it. Okay, Nir, I'll bring you back. So before, okay, that I brought myself back. Now I'll bring Nir also back to join me on the show. I just wanted to steal the thunder a bit. So hi, Nir. Thanks for
Right.
very thorough explanation. Good thing we are not doing it live with the 15 minutes clock because we are 25 minutes into it. But it was very important to see what you showed
Yeah.
today.
That time flies when you're having fun, I guess.
Yeah,
It went very fast for me.
I'm happy. We'll do more of those then, I'm sure. We have a lot to show. Maybe some teasers for what is coming up for those that are our viewers that are watching. You don't have
Not,
to say dates. I
committing to
know that you
anything,
don't like to say
timelines.
dates, but
Yeah, we're stuff, both stuff with we're expanding to other regions with a data center. A lot of work that we're doing. So probably you'll hear about that soon. Uh, are also doing a lot of work redesigning, probably also, rebuilding the entire UI. So we know one of our main pain points in AppScan Cloud is the usability, the user experience. Although it's
don't
very easy
say
to
that.
use, there is, well, we are using, we're a development team. We're using AppScan on Cloud. We are having some challenges like our customers. And because of that, we're learning and improving the product. I think, we are right now rebuilding a lot of the UI and really making it even better than what it is. So there's a lot of there that we started with AppScan Cloud, making it very easy,
Hmm.
but now we want to make it very powerful. So it's going to continue to be very easy to use, but very powerful, especially for large organization where you have a lot of application, a lot of automation, a lot of different teams that work differently. That's kind of what you're going to look. Those are the improvement going forward. So hopefully, customers will be happy.
Well, we do have some very large customers that run hundreds and hundreds of scans a day, so many of them at the same time, through automation, through manual approach, and definitely a lot of good things you guys are doing there, guys and girls are doing there in Israel for us and outside. So, thanks very much. Thank you for joining the show. I will want to invite you or someone else from your team maybe next time to talk
Yeah,
about the
definitely.
Swagger and other things that can be done and maybe share some of the tips on how you're using the tool more yourself, as you mentioned. Thank you.
Sure.
Thanks for joining, Nir.
Thank you.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.